All right, welcome everyone. Welcome you guys here in the audience and also people who are following us on our online streams. So I have the great pleasure to introduce Mateusz Ledwon from the Polish Academy of Sciences from southern Poland, actually. I will not embarrass myself to try to pronounce the name of the town, so I'll let him do it. Mateusz is a great researcher doing a lot of research in the avian ecology, evolutionary ecology, behavioral ecology, mostly in water birds. One of the species that he's working on is the Whiskered Tern, but he also works on other water birds, herons, and different birds. And I met Mateusz a couple of years ago in a conference, and we started chatting about possible collaborations. And he's now here visiting our department within a framework on an Erasmus project that was supposed to happen much earlier, but COVID again screwed up things a little bit. But finally he managed to come here, and he has been here in the department for a few weeks, and we've been trying to build up some new projects and building some new collaborations. And now Mateusz will talk about a very interesting topic, offspring desertion in the Whiskered Tern. So,
thank you for a nice introduction. Thank you for coming. As Adam told, my name is Mateusz Ledwon, and I work at the Polish Academy of Sciences at the Institute of Systematics and Evolution of Animals. Co-authors of this work are Adam Flis, Bartłomiej Kusar-Haszka-Łożyńska from my institute, Agata Banach, also Frederick Angelier, Grzegorz Neubauer, and Jacek Betleja. The title of this work is Why Does Our Mother Leave Us? Offspring Desertion in the Whiskered Tern. And now I try to say it in Hungarian. It is something like Föltő Serko. I'm sorry, but really, every day I try to pronounce it. In majority of birds, both parents are involved in parental care, and conflict occurs between them because each one, male and female, tries to maximize each own reproductive success, each own fitness. So here we have got the expectation, and here we have got real life. In majority of bird species, both parents are involved in parental care, and one way of increasing one's own reproductive success it is to desert. In this situation, we have deserter leave mate to care for the offspring, and deserter abandon the nest, the clutch, or brood. Desertion are common in many bird species, especially in heradiformers. Here we have got Kentish plover. These species have been studied for a long time by Thomas Shekeli. Until now, it has been no reports about desertions in gulls and terns. It has been believed that in this group of birds, both parents are necessary to successful breeding. Desertion, of course, includes both costs and benefits. Deserter can benefit in many ways. The obvious by reducing energy expenditure on costly parental care, so deserters can rest and they save energy. Also, deserters can benefit by earlier departure on migration or by remating and renesting. So after desertion, deserters can remate and renest. Deserted mates have three options. Deserted mate deserts and it leads to offspring death. Also, deserted mate can stay and deliver food at the same level because it's not able to compensate the lack of the mate, and it usually leads to brood reduction. Also, deserted mate can stay and increase food delivery and to compensate the lack of the mate. In this situation, we have no brood reduction if deserted mate is able to increase food delivery after mate desertion. Of course, decision to desert depends on several factors. Number and age of chicks, also depends on food availability, parents' condition, and benefits and costs to deserter, deserted mate, and offspring. The main aim of this work was to investigate patterns of brood desertion in the Whiskered Tern and factors which lead to desertion in these species. We wanted to study benefits and cost of desertion in this species, and we also wanted to investigate baseline and stress-induced hormone levels in males and females. We predicted that baseline stress-induced prolactin level should be lower in deserters because prolactin is involved in maintenance of parental care. And we also predicted that baseline and stress-induced corticosterone level should be higher in deserters because this hormone is involved in nest abandon, especially during harsh conditions. Studied area. We carried out field work in southern Poland. In Upper Vistula River Valley, there are about 70 big fish complexes. However, the single ponds are usually small. The average size of a single pond is about 20 hectares. The main important, for Whiskered Tern, the most important fish complexes are around Zator. It is a small city near Kraków. However, Zator is not famous from fish pond, from Whiskered Tern, but it is famous from a very big, large amusement park, and the name of this park is Energylandia. As for the Whiskered Tern, Whiskered Tern is a marsh tern which breeds colonially. For the first time, Whiskered Tern bred in Upper Vistula River Valley in 1996, but expansion started in 1992, and in the last year there were nearly 2,000 breeding pairs. Here we have got a map of Upper Vistula River Valley. In late year there were 51 colonies. The majority of them were around Zator. The average size of colony is about 30-40 pairs. So usually colonies are small. Habitats. Our fish ponds are usually shallow. The carp breeding is extensive. So the majority of ponds are covered by fringed water lily. Here you have got the nest on fringed water lily, the nest of Whiskered Tern. Whiskered Tern also breeds on water chestnut. In this situation, we had 30 hectares of water chestnut, and really it was the nightmare for the fishermen. On this pond, there were about 200 breeding pairs. Whiskered Tern also breeds among reeds and among water pepper. In this species, both parents are involved in parental care, and during pre-laying period, females spend majority of time on nesting platform, while males bring food for females. And in this species, we found that that males tries to trade food for extra pair copulations, and female tries to cheat male. They tries to obtain food without extra pair copulation. And how it works? Here we have got female on nesting platform and male that tries to trade food for extra pair copulation. It is extra pair male. It is not this female male. And female gives a signal to male that she wants to try to trade extracellular copulation for food. Males usually bring large fish, and male is, I would say that he is happy and he jumps on the female's back, and he focuses on copulation because he is nearly to copulate with the female, and thanks to this, female is able to snatch the food, and she is able to chase him away. So in this situation we have got the true deception, because only female wins, because the female is able to obtain food, and male lose everything, food and copulation. Both parents have to bring plant material for the nest, because the bottom of the nest rots and sink. So every day they have to do hard work to bring a lot of plant material. Both parents are involved in incubation and in chicks brooding. The incubation lasts about 21 days, and also chicks brooding period lasts 21 days. It is semi-precocial species. Females lay 3 eggs, which consist of about 30% of her body mass. The post-breeding period lasts about 1 month, but it remains to be studied, and during this period one parent assists youngs. This parent has to feed them, assist them, and to teach them how to hunt. Extracellular paternity in this species is low. It involves about 8% of chicks. Also, intraspecific brood parasitism is low. It involves about 6% of chicks. As for the methods, each monitor nest was marked by numbered stick, and these sticks are very important because birds like to rest on them, and it enables us to read the rings. So we spend really a lot of time during the field season to looking for the birds with color rings, with color flags, because we study apparent survival of adults, young birds. Each monitor nest was surrounded by mesh. It is not against predators, but it prevents chicks from escaping from the nest. So we are able to ring the chicks, to take blood samples, to measure them, and also thanks to this we are able to trap adults. As I said, our fish ponds are shallow. They are really very beautiful. We use pontons to transport a lot of equipment. Here you can see the Whiskered Tern research team, a very beautiful fish pond. Here we have got enclosures colony. In each colony we try to enclose all nests. We use a roof trap to catch adults. Here we have got additional layer of mesh to make the trap higher. Here is a roof. There are 2 holes, and bird lands on the top, and after it flies through the hole into the trap. So we are able to trap adults both during incubation and chicks rearing period. Trapping success is really high. It is about 80% of birds. So it is really very. We can during one trapping session we can trap about 20 birds. We also use spring tent trap, especially when we try to catch target bird. For example, bird with geolocator. We use dummy eggs. Here we have got spring tent trap. There is the line, and when bird tries to incubate, bird triggers the trap. On this slide you can see the film how it works. So really it is very easy to catch birds. Only about 3–5% of birds abandon the nest after trapping, so it is very low percentage. Birds, adults are ringed, blood samples are taken for molecular sexing, also for other analysis. A lot of equipment, a lot of people. Small parts of feathers are painted by hair dye. It enables us to recognize individuals by binoculars. Here you can see the pattern on the tail. So each bird has individual pattern on feathers. We also used 5GF tags because we wanted to study whether deserters re-nest and remain after desertion. We equipped, during 3 years, we equipped 64 potential deserters to study this behavior. Here, members of the team are looking for the birds with tag, the coloring birds, painted birds, and I really appreciate this car, very good and old car. We also use geolocators. During 4 years we equipped 96 birds with geolocators. We retrieved 51 geolocators, so about 50%. I wanted to study migration of males and females. We wanted to answer the question whether deserters and birds that don't desert differ in time on departure on migration. Here we have got bird with geolocators, and really during the 3 years we spent a lot of time to looking for the birds with geolocator because we had to catch them and retrieve geolocators. Each monitor nest, each nest with painted birds was observed to determine the date of desertion. We observed birds usually 3 times per week. In the morning, the one observation session lasts usually 3 hours. We also noted prey delivery. We are not, in majority of cases, we are not able to recognize species of prey, but we noted prey in category. For example, fish smaller than 5 centimeters, fish larger than 5 centimeters, so tadpoles smaller and larger than 5 centimeters, also small dragonflies, larger dragonflies, and for each category we, based on published data for each category, we estimated energy value in kilojoules. As for the hormones, we trap adults during first week of chick's life. We wanted to estimate prolactin and corticosteroid level both baseline and after acute stress, and to estimate baseline prolactin and corticosteroid level, we had to take blood within 3 minutes after capture. So really, we had to be as quick as possible. We had to run or swim using ponton to take the blood within 3 minutes. So we had to be like the guy from the film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And really, it was a fight, a battle, yes, to be as quick as possible. And after 30 minutes, we took the blood sample to estimate hormones level after acute stress. In 2017, we conducted experiments. We held birds in captivity for 24 hours, and after 24 hours, we took the blood to determine both corticosteroid and prolactin level after prolonged stress. And we also made behavioral observation to determine induced desertion. We wanted to compare induced desertion between males and females after prolonged stress. As for the results, in this species we found that almost all females desert. Among deserters, 97% were females, so almost all females deserted. Half of the females deserted during chicks rearing period and the other half during post-fledging period. So in this species it is the long time when females desert. Here we have got a percentage of deserted nest in each chick's age week. So we have got first week, second week, etc. And desertion started during the first week of chick's life, after 5th day of chick's life, when they started to become thermally independent. And however, during this week only about 5% of nests were deserted. And as I said, half of desertion took place during these 2 weeks, and the other half during these 2 weeks. And after 5th week of chick's life, there were no nests with bi-parental care, only nests with male parental care. In this species, we found that males work harder in terms of food delivery. Here we have got food delivery measured in kilojoule per hour per 2 chicks, because here we have got nest with 2 chicks, but the same pattern is in the nest with 1 chick and 3 chicks. Here you can see the food delivery, males food delivery and females, and males deliver about 25% energy to chicks more than females. Males after females desertion increase provisioning rate. Here we have got provisioning rate in kilojoules per hour, provisioning rate before female desertion, and provisioning rate after female desertion. Few days after and few days before and few days after female desertion, and we can see that only few males decrease provisioning rate. Majority of them increase provisioning rate to compensate the lack of the female. But males were able only partially compensate the lack of the females. The full compensation was only in nest with 1 chick. Here we haven't got differences between food deliveries by parents and male after female desertion. Here we have got food delivery and age of chicks. In nest with 2 chicks and 3 chicks, males were not able to completely compensate lack of the female. However, this difference is not so big. It is about 1 small fish per hour per 2 chicks and 3 chicks here. So it is not so large difference. In the model, we tested daily desertion female daily desertion probability in relation to female provisioning rate, male provisioning rate, day of lying, and number of chicks and year. And in the best supported model, there was only one predictor. It was female provisioning rate. Female provisioning, so female daily desertion probability negatively correlated with female provisioning rate. It means that females that had high provisioning rate, they also had the low daily desertion probability. In other words, the females that had low provisioning rate, they had got a high daily desertion probability. In this species, we found that female desertion doesn't negatively influence breeding success. Breeding success in both types of nests, in nests with uniparental care with male care and biparental care was the same. There was no differences between breeding success between these two types of nests. In our population, there is high hatching and fledging success rate. The breeding success is very high. Hatching success is about 80%, fledging success about 76%. And we of course compared this breeding success between nest with enclosures and nest without enclosures. It was the same. So enclosures didn't influence the breeding success. The high breeding success is mainly due to lack of American mink, and also because Whiskered Tern is very, very aggressive, and Whiskered Tern is able to attack marsh harriers and chase him away. And this high breeding success is also probably due to food abundance in our fish pond. There are a lot of fish, dragonflies, tadpoles, frogs, so it is easy to catch the prey. We wanted to know what do females do after desertion, and we found that only 5% of females that deserted during the chicks dream period remated and nested after desertion in our area. Of course, some of them can remain and renest in other places. For example, here in Hortobacz, it is only, I don't know, it is maybe about 3 hours flying, something like this. So it remains to be studied. But it seems that remating and renesting is not the main benefit which females gain after desertion. Based on recitings color rings, we were able to estimate proportion of males, in other words, sex ratio, but here we have got proportion of males in each 2 weeks periods. We have got here the start of the breeding season, the end of post-fledging period, and this first period contains 2 weeks, next 2 weeks, and so on. Here we have got post-fledging period, and here you can see that during post-fledging period the proportion of males significantly increased. It means that here you have got a lot of males, but females disappeared. So probably females start migration earlier than males, because males have to stay and assist the youngs. So probably earlier departure on migration is main benefit that females gain after desertion. As for the hormones, prolactin level in both males and females decreased after acute stress, and there is no differences between males and females. Also, corticosterone level in both males and females increased after acute stress, and there were no differences between sexes. It is the typical, in both cases, in prolactin and corticosterone, it is the typical pattern which can be seen in other bird species. Both basal and after acute stress, prolactin level decrease during brood chicks period, but after acute stress, prolactin level was higher in males than in females, and probably prolactin is responsible for maintenance of parental care in males, because females desert, males stay, and prolactin can play a role in maintenance of parental care in this species. Corticosterone levels after prolonged stress were negatively correlated with body condition in females, but not in males. So especially females with low body condition had got the higher corticosterone level. So again, females in these species are more not more. I'm sorry, but less. But yes, they are more sensitive to a stressor. Males are less sensitive to a stressor, but females are more sensitive to a stressor. Here also the same pattern. After prolonged stress, none of the 9 males released after being held in captivity for 24 hours deserted, while females, 29% of females deserted after held in captivity. So again, males are less sensitive to stressor. They are more motivated to come back to the nest after prolonged stress, but not females. Prolactin level after prolonged stress it didn't differ between males, females that didn't desert and females that deserted. However, prolactin levels after prolonged stress in females that deserted was lower in comparison with these two groups of birds, but the lack of statistical significance here is probably due to lack of statistical power. To sum up, in this species we found that almost only females deserted, and males work harder than females, male delivered more food than female, and male only partially compensate for the lack of the female. The full compensation was only in nest with 1 chick. Female desertion didn't influence negatively on breeding success. Breeding success was the same in the nest with biparental care and uniparental care. And probability of female desertion was negatively correlated with food delivery. In our population, in our studied population, the desertion may be favored by the great abundance of food in the carpons and low predation pressure. And it will be nice to study desertion rate here in Hortobach to compare the percentage of desertion between our Polish population and Hungarian population. The main direct benefit which females gain after desertion is probably earlier departure on migration, but it still remains to be studied. Higher prolactin level after acute stress in males than in females may be involved in the maintenance of parental care in this species with female desertion. As I said, females are more sensitive to a stressor than males in this species. Males after prolonged stress came back to the nest, while 29% of females deserted after prolonged stress. Now we are working on the data obtained by geolocators to answer the question whether females and males differ in time departure on migration. What else we are doing? We are also studying family life of Caspian gull and movements and foraging of night heron. We equipped 44 Caspian gulls, both youngs and adults, with GPS GSM tags. We also equipped more than 80 night herons, both adults and young, and we want to study movements, habitat selection, parental investment, migration. So now we focus on, especially on GPS GSM tag. Here you can see the Whiskered Tern research team. Adam Flis, Agata Banach, Haszka Łożyńska, Bartek Kusar from my institute, Laura Bu from France, Jacek Betleja, and me. Thank you for attention, thank you for coming, thank you for hosting me here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Half hour.
Thank you very much, really nice talk. Lots of data, cool data. I'm interested in the survival cost of males taking care of the chicks and the females benefit in terms of survival for desertion.
It is a good question. We are studying this because we have a lot of data from recyclings, but now we don't know nothing. We have to analyze this data, but we have got a lot of reciting, so we probably able to compare apparent survival of, or maybe even survival between males and females. I think it will be very interesting because the main question is what is the cost, the main cost, yes, of female desertion. Of course.
You show a figure which said that females providing a lot of food for the chicks doesn't deserve it. Is that right? Yeah.
This?
Yeah. So for this one for me suggests that maybe that condition of the females which force them to desert, because if a female can maintain a high level of food delivery, they can stay, they are not exhausted. But if they cannot maintain a high food delivery, they will desert because they are exhausted, they don't have enough energy to continue to breathe. Is it a possible explanation? Or?
We also compared body condition between males that mate deserted, mate that mate didn't deserted, that also between males that females that deserted and females that didn't deserted, and the picture is more complicated because we found that females that deserted and that didn't deserted differ in body condition, but only during incubation period. Mm-hmm. Not during chicks rearing period, but during incubation period. And of course, females that deserted, they have got lower body condition than females that didn't desert during chicks rearing period. So it is more complicated. Also, maybe females here when they where the provisioning rate is low, maybe it is also it is only hypothesis that females can give signal to males. Yes, I am preparing for desertion, so I lower provisioning rate, and be careful, I am preparing for desertion. Something like this. Yes, so there are many explanations, but during chicks rearing period. Females that deserted and females that didn't deserted, they didn't differ in body condition, but only during incubation periods.
Yeah, but that can be an explanation because females who have a lower body condition during incubation might build up conditions during chick rearing. So this is why provide less food to the chicks, and this is. But can be a reason that they leave earlier.
Yes, but during chicks rearing period, females that had low body condition during incubation, they could restore the body condition. So they, but of course, they differ in body condition.
Do you have any variance in the number of eggs, or they just have 3 eggs?
Usually three, but sometimes these 2. But in majority of cases, there are 3 eggs in clutch.
And sorry for this many questions, but when they renest, so you have a couple of females renesting
after only few.
Yeah, just a few. But do they have the same gut size?
Now I don't remember because it was really few females, yes, but many of them renest after failure when the brood is when the chicks die or clutch is destroyed. So after it, many females renest with the same partner, yes, with the same mate, and I don't remember, but in majority of cases, I think that there are still 3 eggs, because there are, it is normal that during breeding season many nests collapse because of the weather, yes, because of the predator, and they renest after this situation.
Related to this, is it possible that there is an age effect behind this, so that the ones that provide low provisioning are actually young and inexperienced breeders, whereas the ones that are older, very experienced parents?
I don't think so, because the data set was really large, but we are not able to determine the age of this bird. But yes, probably. But majority of young birds start breeding at the end of the breeding season. But here we usually catch birds during the start of the breeding season. But of course, it could be.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the talk. Nice talk. There's two questions that I would like me to get some clarification. You mentioned that females are prone to stress levels. I think that is what you mentioned. And then the question is, trapping could have contributed to maybe early desertion of the females from the nest. That's one. And two, the behavior of the population itself could have contributed to this early desertion. I don't know the species that you have just started. Is either polyandrous or origin. I'm not sure. That is mating multiple males. Could have maybe the population behavior of other birds could have contributed the early desertion of the females from the nests.
Mm-hmm. And the first question is about trapping, yes?
Trapping, yeah.
So
could it be the cause of early desertion?
But you mean our experiment with prolonged stress, or you mean the typical trapping?
Yeah, the typical trapping. So this is the cause of early desertion because they are prone to stress levels. Maybe they are fearing for predation.
After the typical trapping, not prolonged stress, after the typical trapping, both sexes return at the same level to the nest. So we are not able to say that males are less sensitive to typical trapping, to the normal stress, which is conducted with the normal trapping. But after prolonged stress, yes, females were more sensitive to the stressor. I don't know if I correctly answered the question.
Yeah, maybe you can continue with the second question.
The second question, you asked about the mate fidelity?
Yeah, mating behavior of the birds. I'm not sure with the species that you have studied, it either mating multiple males.
In their life, yes?
Yeah.
We don't know exactly because we are studying this, and in this species probably the mate fidelity, the pair fidelity is rather low. It's rather low because this species changes breeding, very often changes breeding places. So if we ring the birds, in the next year we have got about 30% of this bird, because many of them are breeding, for example, here in Hortobach, in Romania and Ukraine. So the pair fidelity is rather low. I think it is not as the same like in Common Tern, where the pair fidelity is about 80-90%. Here probably we have got about pair fidelity about maybe 30%. I think it's something like this. But we have to analyze our data.
Have you looked into the effect of colony size? Because I guess it's important because they're like a kind of social bird compared to, for example, the Kentish plover. if that maybe the colony size also affects the female desertion.
Yes, it is a good question. We didn't look at this effect because our colony, the studied colonies were usually at the same size. It was about 30, 50 nests, but of course we can compare the biggest colony, for example, 200 pairs and 40 pairs. Yes, but we didn't do it because we studied rather the average or small colonies.
Well, what about the distance between the nests? Because maybe if a female looks to the other nest and says like, okay, she's already deserting, maybe I'm going to desert now too, right?
Yes, it is a good question, but of course we should study this, but we don't know nothing about this. But of course, the condition, the food availability also can influence the neighbors. Yes, also it all can influence on desertion.
But this is something you could also test longitudinally because the population size is increasing exponentially. So I assume that the colony size and also probably the density of the colonies is increasing. So over a long term, you can check whether there's any trend in this.
Yes, but birds colonize the new fish pond because we have got in Poland, in our area, we have got water chestnut expansion. Yes, so the large area of fish ponds were covered by water chestnut, and it is now the new area for Whiskered Tern. So they colonized new fish pond complexes.
So I'm wrong.
So not only so I think that the size colony didn't increase, but rather new fish ponds were colonized by Whiskered Tern.
Okay.
And do you have data on, for example, if this behavior is kind of heritable in the way of maybe the daughters of the mothers that deserted, when they nest, they also desert, like in a higher rate compared to, I don't know, a mother that was present maybe, maybe.
But because please again, you mean the mother effect? No.
Yeah, so if the daughters of a mother that deserted them,
okay,
when they have daughters, they also deserted.
Yes, of course it is a good question. We were talking about this with Adam, and it will be very interesting to study the date of to compare the date of desertion between mothers, daughters, and so on. But now we are not able to do it because the site fidelity is rather low, is about 30-50%. But of course it is really good question, and it will be very good to study this, of course.
No more questions? I have a fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have data about the effect of early desertion of mother on the offspring?
The data about
Yeah, the effect of early desertion of the mother on the offspring.
rather not, I think. It is difficult to answer because I think that we haven't got this kind of data.
Okay, thank you. I have a final question. We talked about brood desertion, but I want to touch upon another topic that you mentioned. I felt really sorry for the males that were fooled about the false promise of copulation. This is really unfair. And so I'm just interested about whether these males can actually learn. Do you have any idea whether they can learn that, you know, they're just fooled? Because if this is a very common strategy by the females, then at some point the males should.
But I think that the most important thing is the cost, yes, because there are a lot of food, so probably the cost for males is not so high. So they only, you know, it is good to try, yes? If I try, maybe I will, yeah? So the cost, I don't think so that they, I don't know, maybe they learn, but
they keep trying.
But yes, they keep trying, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But I really spent 2 or 3 years observing copulation in these species, and I found only 2 extra pair copulations. Only 2. So females really they are faithful, and they didn't try to trade extra pair copulation for food, because it was easier to snatch, to cheat the males than to exchange extra pair copulation for food.
Okay. Well, thank you very much again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.